Right now, we want to go behind enemy lines to find out more about this evening's opponent. WDSU sports reporter CARLEY McCord is live inside the Superdome. She's standing by with a Texans insider. CARLEY.
Thank you, guys. Yes, that is correct. I'm joined by Lainey French.
Hello.
She is a Texans insider, and I'm very happy to have her here. And first of all, I know that you've been covering the Texans for a long time, since Deshaun Watson was drafted. Just tell our viewers, what is so special about him as a quarterback, and what makes him so good at being that dual threat?
Well, I've actually covered Watson since his college days at Clemson. I first worked in Charleston, South Carolina, so this is a guy who's always been a special talent. He's a dynamic dual threat quarterback. He can do it both with his legs and his arm, but beyond that, he's got the intangibles that everybody wants as their franchise quarterback. His football IQ is off the charts, and he's really grown as a leader heading into his third season here. What impresses me most about Watson is his toughness. He was hit more than any other quarterback last season, sacked 62 times, and he actually was so banged up at one point he had to take a 12-hour bus ride to Jacksonville for one of the games to avoid air pressure. So he's a guy who's willing to do whatever it takes to win for this team, and I'm excited to see what he does this season.
Those guys are extremely rare, Lainey, and you mentioned him being sacked over 62 times. Why do you think that is? Is it because he just holds on to the ball too long, or do you have to blame the offensive line there?
There was a little bit of that he would admit, and both O'Brien as well with play calling, they said that was part of it. You know, part of what makes him so special is that he's able to scramble and extend plays, but it also gets him into a little bit of trouble, and like I said, he's not afraid to take a hit. But having said that, his first two seasons, he had young, inexperienced offensive line, and that is the difference this season.
Well, you talk about offensive line. They just had a trade with the Miami Dolphins for an offensive lineman and a receiver. Do you think the offense has had time to gel, or do you think that it might still be a little crumbly tonight?
And see, that's what I'm worried about. When I talk about what's going to be the difference this season with Watson behind this offensive line, who should be much more protection than he's ever had in his first two seasons, I want to put an asterisk next to it because they've had less than 2 weeks to practice together. And training camp is there for a reason. These guys need to gel, especially with that position. They need to build that chemistry with Watson. They really haven't had a chance to do that. They also have a rookie in Titus Howard who is playing with a broken finger. He's questionable still for tonight. I think he will play, but I think that's all going to come into play, and that's something that the Saints can take advantage of.
Texans insider Lainey French, thank you so much, Lainey. We appreciate you for your time, guys. We'll go ahead and send it back to you.
Go live now to the Superdome field. That's where sports reporter CARLEY McCord, she's standing by with the Texans insider. Hey, CARLEY.
That's right, guys. I am joined by Lainey French. She is our Texans insider for the night. We've been speaking to her all night about this matchup, that we're expecting a playoff mentality from a fan base in here, Lainey. And one of the things that is so unique about this matchup is they only play every 4 years, and they kind of go back and forth. You know, you saw the Texans win the last one, and then Saints won back in 2011. What is it tonight that's going to be the defining factor? The Texans win if?
The Texans win if the offensive line plays well. They've got a lot of factors going into that. Laramie Tunsil just joined this team less than 2 weeks ago. If he can play well, and they don't have rookie left guard Titus Howard, he's out with injury, so that's going to be huge. That will be a big difference maker. I also think a key will be if another receiver other than DeAndre Hopkins can step up and have a big game, whether it's Kenny Stills or Will Fuller. If they can get going and take the top off the defense, then I think that'll be huge for the offense.
So you're saying that the offense needs to have a stellar performance and get it together. Obviously, let's go ahead then and do a score prediction. I'm going to put you on the spot, Lainey. Who wins, and what's the score prediction?
Okay, so I hate to go against my Houston Texans, but I am going to go with the Saints. I think they win this one. I think the trio of Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas go off. I think it's going to be Saints 35, Texans 21.
The Texans insider is picking the Saints to break their losing streak.
I hope Houston doesn't see this.
The first game of the season. All right, she's confident. We'll see if she's right, guys. Kickoff is just moments away here in the Superdome. I'm CARLEY McCord. She's Lainey French. We'll go ahead and send it back to you.
We're going to talk about the Texans defense and more on the Texans D. And let's go inside the Superdome to CARLEY McCord.
Thanks, guys. Still joined by Texans insider Lainey Fritz. Lainey, you covered this team for the past 3 years, and one of the biggest things you think of when you think of the Houston Texans is J.J. Watt, a guy who got his first sack against the New Orleans Saints. Since then, he's up to 93. What is it about him that makes him so special?
Yeah, it all started with that sack against the Saints, and he has just taken off his career. 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, a 5-time Pro Bowler. You know, his size, explosiveness, and his ability to just torment quarterbacks on every single snap is it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out now without Jadeveon Clowney, who was traded to the Seahawks.
Yeah, you mentioned that trade of Jadeveon Clowney. Last year you had J.J. Watt with 16, Jadeveon Clowney with 9 sacks. How much of a workload does that put on J.J.?
It puts a lot more on J.J., and to be honest, Clowney was a guy who was double-teamed a lot, so that's going to come into play. And Whitney Merciless is another guy on this Texans defense you need to keep your eye on because he's going to be relied on a lot more now as a pass rusher.
She's Lainey Fritz. I'm Carly McCord here in the Superdome. Guys, we'll send it back to you.